Hi guys, I'm here to show you guys how to make an 8x10 grid. Right now I just wanted to show you I have my picture printed out, and this is an 8x10 grid put around my picture. I've already started this one as an example, but this was my 8x10 grid, and you can see the grid matches up to the grid of the picture. So both are 8x10. You grid both. You grid your photograph and you grid your actual piece of paper. So I'm going to put that to the side and show you that I now have a blank piece of paper. It's already 8x10, so super easy. Your picture will be printed out to be 8x10. So they both should be pretty easy. The only thing is that you'll notice on the picture there's a slight little extra piece. Don't grid the paper, grid the picture. So you see where the picture ends, the picture's 8x10, but the paper's a little bigger when you print it. So I'm going to take my white piece of paper. I'm going to take my ruler. This is important. People mess this up every time. And that's why we do it in 7th grade, because you do this again in 8th grade at a larger scale. And it's a lot harder to do at a larger scale. So I'm going to take my ruler. I'm placing it down at the top of my paper. It's exactly 8 inches across, and I'm making a 1-inch grid. So I need to put little dots at the 1, you guys are good at counting, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-inch marks. I'm going to go down to the bottom of my page. Carefully, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm just putting little tallies. So now I've done half my paper. I've done the top and bottom. I'm going to now go around to the other sides. You have to do, this is where people go wrong. You have to do every single side. People often will do one side and they're like, I can just eyeball it and go right across. You can't. So you need to have, your paper should look like a little tally mark all around it. You guys see that? See the little tallies? Now, here's the tricky part. I need to go right across to each tally mark. I'm gonna keep going, and I'm making my grid. I'm gonna go lightly. If you go too dark, your grid is gonna dominate your picture. The grid is there to provide guidance. You don't want the grid actually in your picture. Later you'll erase it the best you can, but it's there to guide you. So I'm gonna grid my paper. I like to grid the paper first, because if you make mistakes on the paper, not a big deal. Start over, give you a new piece of paper. Pretty easy. Again, the paper's 8x10. So I'm gonna go across the whole thing, and you can see it's coming together. I've done one side. Oh, one more to do, one more to go. Oops, I made a little bump there. So I'll go back. So sorry, I don't usually do this whole demo, but now I'm gonna go across. Oopsies, you guys fell down. It's a little tricky doing this. Now, see how I've got one side done? Now I'm gonna go across and do the other side. Once that is done, you then are going to go onto your picture and do the same exact thing. Just the most important thing though is you check with me to make sure your grid is okay. So either if you're at home, you're gonna send me a picture of it. If you're at school, raise your hand and I will come around and check, because if your grid is really off, your picture will be really off. So I'm not gonna spare you the video of doing the picture as well live, but you guys can see I've got the picture, I've got my paper. Now, I don't know if you can see, but I've already labeled the sides 1 through 10, and the top is A through H. I have to do the same thing over here. So the reason I do that is it's actually really easy to get lost on your paper without having the grid. C, D, E, F, G, H. Now the reason I do that, so like I was saying, let's say I'm doing my nose, which is here. I'm gonna look and say, okay, D5. So now I'm gonna look at my paper and say D5. What is happening in D5? My nose, a tiny piece of my nose. And in that square, whatever's happening in this square in the photo, wherever that nose is, it has to fit in the same part of the box on the paper. So by doing that, your proportions are going to be accurate, so it'll look more like you. And it also just helps to look at this little piece of nose. If I'm just looking just here at what's happening just right in that little box and that shadow right here, you are going to be able to, it'll be a lot less overwhelming than trying to do it without the picture and the grid to help you. I think it's really helpful to, like, sometimes you can make a little box isolator, like put stuff around. You could, if you're at home, you can just, I have some here, but if you're at home, you can just kind of make a little square, a 1-inch square, and isolate just that spot. Because it gets really easy. You start, like, your eye will start moving around and looking at other places, but really you want to focus on it box by box. Where to start? I like to start with the hair on the outside and kind of outside and work my way in. Just so I like to start with something kind of simple. Like, where is my hairline in box C1? In C1, it just is one little line that goes across to the top. And, like, that's it for that in terms of where it is. Then I'm gonna start working on my shading. So make your general lines, like, make your lines first and then go into a deeper shading. Because if you start to shade really hard in one area, like your sunglasses, and you're off, it's harder to erase. But it's a lot easier to erase if you just kind of pencil in, and then lots of check-ins. We're gonna have a lot of check-ins in this project because it's one of those things when you start to go off on the wrong path, really easy to correct if you haven't done too much, but harder to correct the more you do. So make sure you're checking in with me a lot. This is kind of a long video, 6 minutes, but hopefully this will be helpful when you guys go to grid your picture, and good luck. Oh, I'll show you one last one. This is a student who did a great job, I thought, and it's just nice to see someone. She's got all the different gray scales in here, all black, all medium gray, light gray, white, shadow under the sunglasses, and she did a really nice job on the lips, observing where the shadow is. So if you have not done any shading on your face, you gotta go back and look, see where the shadows are. All right, good luck. I know you guys can do this.